Today I'll be giving you a tour of my 2025 Notion setup, showing you how I use this incredible tool to organize my life and my small business. I've never used Notion before. This is not a tutorial for how to use it per se. This is more of a peek inside of how I'm using it, sort of a behind the scenes. But I will be sharing some incredible folks who have already created some really amazing YouTube videos about how to use the platform in great detail and how to set up systems. So for now, I'm just giving you sort of like a voyeuristic look inside of my own Notion and how I use it for my life and my business and staying organized, and what the capacity of this tool could be. And hopefully it will inspire you if you're looking for a way to organize your life or your business. So without further ado, let's get into my 2025 Notion tour. So let's get into it. This is what I call my base camp. So this is kind of where everything is laid out for me organizationally, and I keep all of my base databases inside of Basecamp so that I can kind of track everything back to one place. And I've set things up with a system that I learned from August Bradley, who has a YouTube channel, the Pillars, Pipelines, and Vaults system, which basically just means your pillars are the kind of cubes that all of your information goes inside of. The pipelines are like how it works, and then the vaults are like where it's all stored. So I have all of my pages inside of this page, and that way I can link to them in other places, but they're all like kind of stored in one area, if that makes sense. So I'll kind of show you how it all comes together. But basically this is my starting point, and the areas is where everything is linked. So these are like the major areas of my life. I have work and career, home and community, intuition and spirituality, creation and self-expression, health and body, studies, finances, partnership and sensuality, radiance and vitality, and personal development. So these are all areas that I kind of use as my building blocks for my whole system, and everything fits into these from here. So after Basecamp, the next place that's kind of like where I start building my system from is my annual visions page. So this is basically the same as goals, but I will show you, these are my visions or my goals for this year. So I have them all kind of set up in a way where it's not like a goal like I'm going to achieve this by this date sort of thing. I have them all kind of listed as a sentence of it's already happening, just because I think that that's better for my personal mindset and how I like to think about goals. And these things, I try to keep them, I call them visions because I feel like they're more flexible than calling it like a goal per se. I think that it just allows a little more flexibility for myself, and I don't know, it feels more friendly. So that's kind of how I approach goals. If I open a goal up, I'll show you quickly what it looks like, and I won't go into too much detail because there's a lot here, but I basically list what my motivation is for the goal, what it would look like if I already achieved it, and then I also have some links to my quarterly targets and my tasks that would be related to this goal. And I can say is it on track, is it off track? I have different metrics that I kind of follow for each one, and yeah, and then I have some more tasks and projects and things down here that are related. And then I also have a little section at the bottom that's like how I will reward myself if I complete the goal. Just because that, I think, especially if you're neurodivergent or neurospicy like I am, it helps to give yourself that little nugget of dopamine if you know, like, okay, if I accomplish this, then I can give myself this or something like that. So, yeah, just implementing some different systems here in the visions section, but this is kind of like one of the other main foundations of my system. So if we go back to Basecamp, the next thing is my quarterly targets, which you sort of saw already. These are just like steps that help me get to my goals. So this database is linked to my visions database, and this helps me break my vision into smaller bite-sized pieces to make it more accomplishable. And then from there, we have projects, which are anything that's like a big task or like a big set of tasks. Projects is kind of the other like main hub where a lot of the things that I do every day are based inside of. If it will load. So I have a bunch of projects in here. Some of them are active, some of them are not. But projects are where I basically take action on things. So I have my reading list in here, I have knitting, I have home things in here. It's not all like projects that are short term. Some of them are like ongoing things. But it gives me a bucket or like a space to hold tasks and to hold those visions and things and keep it all linked together. So from there, I have a tasks database, which I'm not going to open because it's really large, just like on its own. I have smaller broken up pieces of it throughout my system, which I'll show you in other ways. But I also have a years page, which is where I keep track of every year. I have things like my goals and visions inside each one of these templates, and every year I open it up and I have like reflections in here. I can see how my health was throughout the year. I can track all kinds of things, goals, etc. And this is a page that I don't visit super often. I also have my tarot spread for the year in there. This is kind of a page that I look at every once in a while, maybe every quarter, to make sure that I'm on track. It's not something I visit daily, but it just helps me like stay focused for the year. And this is where I do all of my reflection at the beginning and the end of the year to like see where I'm at. And then from years, I also have a similar page for quarters. This is my view for just this year, but again, these pages are where I've broken down goals for the quarter. I personally focus on goals more quarterly than I do monthly, because I think it just helps to kind of stay a little more flexible that way. But I have areas for reflection. I have, again, my quarterly targets. I can see the different months for the quarter, and then I can see like all of my tasks that I want to take. So this is a page that I visit probably more frequently than like my months page, just because I think this is where more of those bigger goals lie. The monthly check-in is something that I do enjoy doing, but it's less about goals and more about things like mental health, physical health, that sort of thing. So I'll show you. I haven't filled out February's yet, but it basically rolls up a lot of things that I've done throughout the month, like my gratitude, my focus, memories, all of that sort of thing. And And then it will also show me like what my expenses and my income was, all of the tasks that I completed that month, and some little like recaps of those same things, achievements, what I can improve on, what my weekly focuses were, some income things. And then I have these checklists at the bottom that help me to stay focused. So I have a checklist that goes through cleaning the house, checking my wardrobe to make any updates or edits, reviewing and planning monthly content, scheduling a life admin day. All of those sort of things go in this checklist. Same with the getting current. This is also things I like to do every month to make sure that I'm just feeling like I'm enjoying my life. So I have like planning a movie night on there, planning like a meetup with friends, all those kind of things. And these are things that normally just kind of naturally happen, but I like to just remind myself so that I don't forget to make these social interactions happen to keep up with my mental health. And then resetting is just kind of more related to my Notion, so making sure that all of my databases for the month are set up the way I want to, and then looking at my SEO like stats, I guess, for the month. So that's my monthly roll-ups and reflection page. And right now it looks kind of blank, but usually I put a photo in here that kind of represents the month. I'm not sure why this space one is there. That's not what I chose, but usually it's like a personal image that shows, I'll show you my 2024 one. So usually it's a photo that kind of represents what I did that month or what I was enjoying that month, so that I have like a cute little memory keepsake at the end of the year for the whole year. Okay, if we go back, weeks is also a similar database to months, and it's something that I do every single Monday. I come in here and I'll show you a blank example, but I will set this up on a Monday with the date and what I want to focus on, and I will choose 3 words for the week. I'll do a little weekly review to see how things are going, what I should focus on that week. I also have a weekly reset, so things like clearing out my inbox and just getting things ready for like a fresh week is what I like to do. Clearing out my downloads folder so that it doesn't get overwhelmed. Little reminders like this, and when you stay on top of it with these little tasks, then they don't add up to be like this bigger, ridiculous thing that feels unmanageable. So that's what I do every single week. I do that on Monday morning, first thing. I call it Monday Hour 1, which I can't remember who originally came up with that concept. I learned about it from Michelle Pelizon of Holisticism, but I think it's actually a principle from someone else. So don't quote me on that, but that's what I do every Monday morning. It's something I really look forward to. I have a cup of coffee and I just plan the week, and sometimes I'll do it on like a Sunday evening if I'm feeling particularly anxious and want to get a jump start on things. And then I have the days tracker, which I'm not going to open up because it's also sort of like my task list where it's just looks super messy on its own, but it is linked to other pages. So I'll show you how it looks inside the other spots and then we can talk about it. And then the spell tracker is my content planner. So I'll show you what that looks like on a different dashboard where it's like more organized. This is just the database itself where I plan and organize all of my content. So that's what that section is all about. I'm going to show you the main dashboards or pages that I use the most frequently. So Every single morning, I come to this page that I call my morning vessel. So this is my morning vessel page. This is one of my favorite pages that I've made inside of Notion because I feel like it just helps me get set up for each day, and it's a nice space to come to. I just love the way it feels. So this is where I come and do my weekly review, which is what I just told you about. So I just made a little button that basically takes me back to that week's database where I can review the week and set up a new one. And then this is also where I can create the days of that week. So I'll go in here and I have a to sort section set up. So every Monday it'll auto-populate like a Monday through Sunday setup in here, and I just have to connect it to the week and also my cycle day. So I track my cycle and I'll say like which day I'm on, I'll put the date, and then it'll disappear from this area, and instead it will show up under my days database. And there's a lot of info in here, so I don't know if it's going to load, but basically it just connects all these different touch points. So it'll connect my cycle day, it'll connect the week that we're in, and then I have some other things so I can track some other stuff, which I'll show you in another section. So I have a little view into the days database here that kind of tells me like where I'm at with my cycle, what some focuses are, and usually like if I'm in a normal cycle, it'll tell me what fruits and veggies are good to eat during that time in my cycle, that sort of thing. But right now I'm pregnant, so it's a little bit more simplified. But that's kind of what that little area is, just a kind of health check-in. We have a little playlist over here, and then we have a checklist for tracking some habits that I like to track. So I have habit broken down into morning and evening, and this is the same database, just different views, and this is under the days database. So again, I have all of my habits just connected to the day of the week, and this automatically will show up here based on what day it is today. So I can say if I've meditated, if I took my supplements, did my morning pages, etc. And then I can also do the same in the evening to track those things. And then the cool part is if we go back to that weekly week review that I was talking about on Monday mornings, it'll show me how many times that week I meditated or I took my supplements or I exercised. So I can really keep track of like, am I actually doing these habits that I set out to do, or am I kind of slacking on them? And I'm pretty gentle with it. Like, I'm not like, oh my gosh, you're such a slacker. I just like to see if I'm being reasonable with myself, and every season of life is different. So yeah, I try to be gentle with it, but it's a nice way to just keep track. And then this is maybe my favorite section. This is what I call morning juice. So this is actually like a little roll up or connected view of my knowledge base, which I didn't actually touch on. It is one of like the bigger foundation pieces. It's a second brain, so it's where I store everything from like books to read or articles, YouTube videos, podcasts, all that sort of stuff. I save it all into my second brain, and then I have a tag for it that is for morning juice, and then it will show up in this section. So these are things I want to listen to like first thing in the morning that will help inspire me for the day, help me get in the zone. That's what the morning juice is for. And then after I've listened to it, I usually just untag it with morning juice because like it's already served its purpose, and then it just gets stored in my second brain as like a reference if I ever want to look for it again or share it with someone. And then I also have a little roll-up of meditations that I might want to be doing that week. So this is also connected to another database that I have of meditations, and if you click on the cards, it'll give you some instruction of how to do it with a little picture and stuff. So that's my morning. I also have a little tarot thing if I want to pull a tarot card, and then I just have some lists for little reminders and things. And these I actually got from another creator, so I won't talk about them too much because they weren't my own idea, but it is a nice place to come to find some support if I need it. So from there, I then go to my next most used page, which is the daily compass. So this is my compass page, which is basically to help steer me in the direction of where I'm going. So I have a little snapshot up here of my vision board for the year, and I have a button to take me back to that morning vessel page if I want to go back there. And then I also have some buttons in here that are just like to help me get to other places in my database quickly. But I don't use them super often. This is more for when I use Notion on the mobile app. I think it's kind of annoying to navigate on the app. So this helps to just like, if I want to do a quick action on my phone, I can open this up and then I can just click one of these buttons if I want to make a new task or if I want to create some new content, a new book that I want to read, etc. So in here we have the inbox, which is where I have any tasks that have not been assigned to a project yet. And a lot of these things could be like things I see on the internet, things I want to do. It can be kind of random, but I try to clear this out about once a week so that I don't have anything like stuck in here for too long. And then I also have some recurring tasks that are set up in the template section for things that I do every single week. So those show up on Monday morning when I do my Monday hour one, like I was talking about, where I do a weekly content plan, my Monday hour one, my weekly reset, and then some other kind of weekly tasks. And then I go ahead and take them from the inbox, put what day of the week that I'm going to do it, assign it to a project, and then it will disappear from the inbox section. So it's a nice way to stay organized. There's also an inbox for my second brain and content ideas, and then also bookmarks. So these things I don't visit as much as the tasks, but they're just in there if I want to see any new recent things that I've like saved. And then under the today section, this is where my to-do list lives. So this will just show me tasks that I've selected for doing on this day. And I do due dates DO rather than DUE dates because this is the day I actually want to do the task. And it also gives me a little flexibility to move the date around. Some things do have a hard deadline, so if that's the case, then I'll put that date in here. But if once I check this off, it disappears from my list, so it's very satisfying to be able to check off a bunch of things and they disappear. The all single tasks will just show me all the tasks that are not complete. My weekly view is set up as a calendar view, so I can see how I've loaded my week. And obviously, I need to move some tasks around from this week, but usually it will show me, okay, like I'll front load Monday and then I'll keep things pretty light on Friday so that I can move all my tasks. As you can see, this week I didn't do a great job of that, so Friday has a lot of tasks. and they will not be all completed today, but that's okay. And then I also have a view that is just tasks for tomorrow, because I really want to be able to see like how I'm setting my tasks up for the week. If I don't get to something today, maybe I'll move it till tomorrow, or maybe I'll switch some tasks around, but it's just helpful for me to check in at the end of the day and see like what I have coming up the next day so I can kind of mentally plan. But this is where I spend a lot of time. This is where I take action on everything throughout the day. Meetings and events, I'll have any upcoming like meetings, events, trips, all that sort of thing for the month will show up in here. And then targets and goals, this is just another view of my quarterly targets and my annual visions. I need to change that language there. We're going with visions, not goals. We're going with visions. And then also same with projects. I'll see a little roll up of projects. These ones are just like the ones that I'm working on right now. So it's easier than looking at like the big page with everything. I also have a little roll up for chores. I don't really ever use this, to be honest. I thought it was kind of clever to have like a place where I could see all of the chores that needed to be done. But that's not really how I do chores. I do chores more like when they need to get done, we just do them. So anyway, something I was experimenting with, playing with, but we've got books that I'm currently reading. It'll show me like how far along in the book I am. And the books section is also probably another favorite of mine. I might do a whole video on like my second brain in my library and how I've set that up, because it's one of my favorite parts of my Notion. Journals, I don't journal a lot in my Notion, but it gives me the option to if I'd like to. I usually journal by hand in a journal because that's the way I like it. And yeah, I have a couple other things down here from some other creators that I haven't really used, but I'm just playing around with, so I have them anyway. And then I have a year at a glance. So this is where I have like people's birthdays and big events and things like that so that I don't forget. So that's kind of the main meat and potatoes of the compass page. And if we go back to Basecamp, the last page that I'll show you today, because I think if I show you everything, it would be a 2-hour video, will be the HQ. So this is like my business page. So yeah, we'll take a little gander there. So this is my business HQ. This is for my small business. It's called Atelier Creative, and this is where everything resides. So I've kept it more simple than some of my other pages just because I want things to be easily accessed. So I have a section for operations, for marketing, for resources, offerings, clients, and then kind of like my personal founder section. And I have all kinds of pages from like my brand book and copywriting templates and my marketing hub, which is where my spell tracker resides. So that one I'll show you in just a minute. And then my business projects dashboard. So those are probably the ones I use the most often in here. And it's just a nice place to keep everything organized. I also have like our vision, our mission, and our values down here at the bottom. And then the data basement is where I keep like all of the base databases that I use throughout these pages. So that again, sort of like the Basecamp, they're all located in one area. So I'll show you the marketing hub because that's another section that I think is really where I spend a lot of time in my Notion. So up here I just have some strategy things, a content schedule, and some little yeah, some little strategy pieces that AI helped me come up with. Love that. And then I have kind of a weekly schedule of how I want to plan and post my content. And this is just to kind of give me like an outline. I don't always follow this to a T, but it's helpful to have. And then I have some buttons over here for how to get to things like templates, FAQs, if we've had any like press and media coverage. My brand book, have a button to get there quickly. And then I have a page just for YouTube. I have a shooting planner, so this is where I can go for days where I'm either shooting videos or photographs, and I can see like all of the content that I want to shoot that day. The idea zone is where I create new ideas for my various platforms. And then social media strategy is just my page where I have all of my social strategy plans. And then this is where I spend a lot of time. This is my content calendar. So this lays out everything from Instagram stories to blogs to newsletters and all of my planned content. And all of this is set up with templates in my database. So I have different templates depending on what kind of content it is. And then it will basically give me like a breakdown of what I should do. So I'll give you an example of like what the blog post one looks like, for example. So I can fill out any of the information in here. And then it has these sections broken down for me where I can put in a description, I can put in some research and notes, content, and then a checklist for actually posting the thing. So this has been super helpful for staying organized with my content. I'm going to go ahead and delete this since I don't need it. But yeah, this is how I keep track of anything that I have coming up, and I can see like what the status is as well, if it's already been published or if it's something that's ready to record, if it's just an idea phase, that sort of thing. So those are kind of my main dashboards that I spend the most amount of time in. I can definitely do another video where we go into more depth in any section if there's like a particular one that you would like to see more about. Some of these pages I'm not going to show you right now because I think it would just take way too long. To be honest, I have been using Notion for I think almost 5 years now. So it's a long time of like working with it and saving content and I think all of this takes time. So if you're like, my Notion doesn't look anything like that, not a big deal. If it works for you and your brain, then that's all that matters. And all the rest is just kind of superfluous, really. But yeah, if there's any particular sections that you would like to see more of or anything that you're interested in checking out, I'd be happy to show you. And until next time, thanks for being here.